Hey, 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 hey.
What's up?
What's up, everybody?
Just got to open my wine bottle here.
Oh, I got to open the wine, too.
That's right. Get after it. What's up, all you no bullshitters out there? Welcome to I'm a Little Buzzed Thursday edition, where we bring a little life to business, all while sharing whatever makes you happy. So, Al, man, I can't even get this thing open.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, there we go.
Struggle is real.
Struggle is real. So tonight, Empathy Wines makes me a little happy. The red.
Empathy white tonight.
Nice.
I got the red
bourbon away.
I gotta get me some white. Alum, I need to borrow a bottle.
I got you, bro.
Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hopefully you have glass in hand. It can be water. It can be cola. It can be wine. It can be bourbon. It can be like a milkshake if you want. I don't know. So it's Al, John, and Rob. We are the founders of NoBull 2020, presented by Bankers Healthcare Group, happening this September 17th in Syracuse, New York. Hopefully you got some tickets. If you didn't, Al will tell you how to get them. So we start all these shows with a little cheers to life, love, lots of laughter, and effing hot rods, people.
Hot rods.
Tim Allen.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers to all you guys.
So, before we start the show and get into our banging guest, banging is good, like, you know, banging. Yeah.
Banging guest.
Banging. Al's got some announcements that we're going to rip through. Al, take her away.
Okay, so first and foremost, our sponsor for this week is Hogan's Heroes. Geek out with your Greek out. To go only, social distance. Spanakopita to Gopita. So again, Hogan's Heroes. Geek out with your Greek out. Drive through only. Spanakopita to Gopita. The next big thing is don't forget to order some wine from empathywines.com. Go to empathywines.com, get whatever you want, red, white, or rosé in any fashion. Don't forget to use NoBull 2020 promo code. If you buy a case of 12 and any cluster, whether it's packs of 3 or just a case of 12, you will get a free ticket, premier seating, front section to NoBull 2020 to see Gary Vee and a host of other amazing, talented entrepreneurs and business people. Any questions, leave them in the comments, email us, hit us up, whatever. We'll get you some wine. Tickets are on sale. If you're not a wine person, that's great. Tickets are on sale again, nobull2020.com. Get your tickets. It's gonna be a smoking, banging event. So don't forget wine and tickets. Those are the big things. And don't forget to go to Hogan's Heroes. Heroes. Not gyro.
What's a gyro?
Hogan's Gyros. No. Hogan's Heroes.
Leave in the comments if you call it. Be honest here.
Yeah.
Do you call it hero? So, like, I guess how would you write that? Right? Hero.
Right.
Hero. Or do you call it a gyro? Gyro. Leave some comments. This is serious. We need to know this.
I mean, the correct pronunciation, according to the Greeks, I used to date a Greek girl,
is hero.
Hero. What happened? I can't. Well, to be honest with you, it was long distance, and she was geeking out.
The long distance women.
Oh, it was terrible. Tough situation. We're not going to get into it, though.
I mean, we could. No, we don't have to. So, thanks everyone for watching. Rebecca Williams, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. Steven, thanks for watching. Steve's been on here. Tom Johnson, woohoo! Let's do this. Nick, let's do this.
Turn the turnbull.
Turn the turnbull.
Turn to turnbull.
Love it. So no comments yet. Nobody's hero or gyro.
Nobody's. I mean,
all right,
because they're thinking about it.
No heroes or gyro. Yeah, it's serious. So if you have any questions about the event, how to get tickets, any of that kind of stuff, shoot us some comments in here. We'll be moderating throughout the show. But we have this new format, this live podcast. We're going to be bringing on guests every Tuesday and Thursday. awesome guests, entrepreneurs, people who are building or have built businesses, have found some level of success, who have failed, who have succeeded, and are standing to share the story with us. So hopefully we can deliver a lot of value. Sundays is going to be our wild card show, where it's just the three of us talking some shit and having some fun. So hopefully you can join us. So make sure you subscribe and catch all of these great episodes. Yeah. Are we ready to rip?
Ready to rip. Rip it and grip it.
Rock and roll. So today's show is going to feature a little biz inspiration about building hot rods and rocket ships, literally and figuratively. Mm-hmm. We were super excited to have entrepreneur, owner of Steve's Restorations, custom hot rod builder. He was featured on History Channel's American Restoration. Please welcome Hot Rods and Rocket Ships with Steve Hale.
There's just one problem. Steve's not here yet.
Steve. All right, bring it on back.
Bring it on home to
Bring
me.
it on back. All right, we're back, peeps.
Steve's not in the what we call the waiting room or the green room, the digital green room. He's not there.
The digita green room.
So, yeah. If this were a real show, maybe he's in the bathroom. We can't find him.
Yeah. You know what? That's where you go. So we'll just riff off a little bit. We had a segment that we were going to call My Sediments Exactly. Right?
That's right.
So we were planning on doing a little segment. If you watched Tuesday's episode, we did what was it? That's bullshit.
That's bullshit. We can revisit that.
We can revisit That's bullshit. That's bullshit was basically saying things that people say all the time or do all the time, and it's just bullshit.
Like, I'm too busy. I don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah. My Sediments Exactly was going to be, we got some new people. Colleen shared the stream. Thanks, Colleen.
Appreciate you.
Chris. What's up, Chris? My boy Chris. I haven't seen him in a while. My Sediments Exactly was going to be, what's the saying? My sentiment. Exactly.
I still don't know what the hell it is.
That's right. So
it's exactly, but
that's where I was going with this, is that we haven't fleshed the segment out.
Right.
But the name itself, I believe, is truly where we lost our way, because we're not quite sure if it's called My Sentiment Exactly, or is it My Sediments Exactly? We thought it was My Sentiments, but then Al threw a serious wrench into the gears. What show was that from?
I was watching Blue Bloods, which I'm addicted to. I've watched all 9 seasons twice now. And in the show, the guy says, My Sediments Exactly. And I'm like, wait.
This was after we came up with the name for the segment.
Totally. Yeah.
So now we were all jacked up.
I think that the sediments just goes well with the wine theme. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Steven's in the house.
Steve, I'll do it again. So, I lost it. Here it is. Please welcome Hot Rods and Rocket Ships with Steve Hale.
What's up, guys?
There he is.
What's up, Steve?
How you doing?
What's up, brother?
No worries, man. There are no rules in this podcast.
All right, that's good. We don't like rules.
No. Rules. Entrepreneurs plus wine in my case, and no rules equal I'm a little buzzed. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. Real good. Thanks for having me on. How are you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
We're great, man.
I'm a little buzzed.
Yeah, we're getting a little buzzed.
Off to a good start.
So I just did a brief overview of your many accomplishments. So if you wouldn't mind, give us a 2-minute kind of story of where Steve started up to where you are right these days, my friend.
Gotcha. Well, it's a little longer than 2 minutes, but we'll break it down. We'll condense it.
Yeah.
So basically, when I was probably 14 or 15 years old, I decided that I wanted to restore a car. I knew nothing about restoring classic cars. And my brother-in-law, who was like 13 years older than me, he was an expert body man. He kind of helped me out and taught me how to do body work. We got a hold of old Mercury that was a piece of junk. It was like a 55 Mercury, and we restored the thing, and it came out decent. And then it actually caught on fire when we were test driving it. That was kind of that was like the start to that.
I
And
was
then
gonna say,
we finished the Mercury up, and I was probably just turning 16, and we bought a 1960 Jaguar. And then we restored the Jag in my mom's garage at our house. This is when I was in high school. And the next thing you know, my friend's parents started dropping cars off to have body work done on them. And we basically turned the garage at the house into a body shop. And finally, I think my mom probably was sick of having paint fumes going into the kitchen every day. So we decided to try to make it a little, more of a real business. And I moved into my father's barn down the street, and we poured a concrete floor, and we started doing work. And I was like 17, 18 years old at that point. And then people just started calling from all over the place, and it became, real, like that this needed to turn into an actual business. So we moved into our first actual shop in Marcy. That was like 8,500 square feet in 2006.
oh wow,
And I got an official business license, and we just, we took off from there. And it basically, every step of the way has been a struggle. People look at all the success stories on Instagram and Facebook, and they see the highlight reel of everything, like, wow, Steve had, the American Restoration on History Channel, and they built all these great cars, and they've traveled all over the world, and we have done all that awesome stuff. But it's been a lot of hard work. And honestly, looking back on it, I wouldn't trade any of that, because that's part of the process. And I think when you look at anyone who's really successful in business, they've had a lot of struggles, and it's basically a roller coaster for everybody. That's how you learn. You dive in, and things are tough, and you work through them, and you learn as you go. And I've been super fortunate to have some incredible people working alongside of me, and people that I've met, and connections we've made, and different companies like PPG Paint Company has helped us out tremendously. And that's just one company out of the many. We've had a lot of people helping out. And basically my goal when I started, pretty much, kind of skipping around here, my older brother was like my idol to me, and I always looked up to him. And he told me, he's like, "You're not going to paint cars. You don't know anything about that." I told him, I said, "I'm going to become the best car painter in the world just to prove you wrong." So that was my goal, was always to be the best car painter in the world. And I think I'm getting close to that, but I think it's pretty ignorant to say that I would be, because there's some phenomenally talented people out there who I've become friends with. Some of like the people I've always looked up to, like Charlie Hutton, who painted for Chip Foose and Boyd Coddington. He's an incredible guy. I've got to be friends with. And, so there's people like that, but I feel like our paintwork is on the same level with them. And that's, I think that's the reason we've got to be where we are, is that we took so much pride in our work and always made sure that everything came out right. Even if we had to paint a car 3 times to make it perfect and lose money on a job, we still made sure that the work was perfect, and we cared about it and tried to help people and do honest business, all along. And now we've gotten to where we are now in our new shop that's 13,000 square feet. We've got a beautiful showroom, and
that's awesome,
studio, and cool offices, and a bunch of stuff like that. So it's been a crazy journey, but
it's been a wild ride, huh?
Wild ride. That's right.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, you mentioned having people, alongside you and partners, and you mentioned vendors and everything. How key is it to have just people around you, right? Like, you can only do so much, and you started out probably doing a lot yourself, or you had other people kind of helping here and there. But how key is that, right?
Yeah, it's key. They say it takes a village, and that's right. It's got, my name is on the door. So, people say, oh, it's Steve's Restorations, but I'm very fortunate to have had the different people in my life that have helped me along, whether it be on a project or in business, or just, family support, like my mom, and, just the tremendous amount of people I've had, in my life that have helped me to get to where I am and get, over, each peak, and, climb up the top of the mountain, basically. I've been fortunate to have a lot of good people in my life that saw, I guess, the potential in my company or in me and what I wanted to do. And I think that goes with everything. Even like my arm wrestling, for example, I got to meet and train with some of, the most incredible people on the planet, and we became really good friends, and we help each other out. And I mean, that's kind of what it is, like that's a perfect example. Arm wrestling is a sport that's done individual. You compete as an individual, but you have to train with a team, and you have to have people that, even your competitors are your friends, and you're training, and you're always constantly making each other better. And I think that's a big part of anything.
Steve,
No such thing as a self-made person, basically.
what movie is this from? Since you just said this, what is this from?
Over the Top.
Yeah, brother. Over the Top. My dad and I used to watch that movie over and over and over.
Yeah.
One of the greatest movies. Nobody probably knows about it but us, but thank you for that.
That's what we call flipping the switch.
Al just got so excited.
I just was like, did you say arm wrestling?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, so
God bless you.
So arm wrestling, that's a whole other thing that you fill your time. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner.
Yep.
You're hustling. You have this hobby, arm wrestling on the side, and you're also into fitness, right? And is that sort of part of the arm wrestling?
Well, it is. It always has been. I mean, kind of like my goal with painting cars was to be the best car painter in the world, right? That was kind of where that started. Well, I always wanted to be the world champion at arm wrestling, and I kind of like didn't take it super serious, when I first started off. So now the way that I've changed my training around, within the next couple of years, things are going to get really serious for me in the sport.
Oh, shit!
Super excited about that.
He's bringing it.
If you go to competition, will you tell us?
Oh yeah,
I've wanted to see a live arm wrestling competition my entire life, ever since I saw Over the Top.
Well, you got. I mean, right here in upstate New York, I mean, Syracuse there's like a big hub. So if you follow CNY arm wrestlers, check out the page. I mean, we've got some of the best arm wrestlers in the world are in like the Northeast up here. I mean, you got some huge names, people that are really, really good all around here. So we've got tournaments in Syracuse and Pennsylvania, and you'll see them. They're around.
Al's going to be.
Got to understand that
that
Steve
legal?
is a fanatic with everything that he does.
Right.
It's not just about the cars. I mean,
Right.
tell him about the 3 phases you just finished with your fitness.
Right. So the fitness thing, basically, so like I was kind of got off track. Arm wrestling, I always trained for it. But I never took my fitness like super seriously. And that all kind of started last year when I discovered 75 Hard. So that's a program that Andy Frisella came up with. He's a super inspirational, very successful business person. He started First Form. It's a supplement company. So this program he developed called 75 Hard, it is designed to build mental toughness. And that's where a lot of people get it confused. I think that it's just like some fitness challenge or something like that I was doing and that all these people are doing now. It's really not. It's designed to build mental toughness, which is extremely important in any aspect of life, no matter what you're doing. Especially if you're trying to start a business and run a business, because like I was saying, you're going to be on a roller coaster the entire time. So being able to deal with all of those punches, like Sylvester Stallone says, it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Right.
You're giving Al goosebumps all over the place right now.
Oh, gosh.
And so, I mean, that's what mental toughness is all about. So 75 Hard is a program that develops that. And that's basically, it's when you do the whole program, it's called Live Hard. So there's 75 days where you have to do 2 intense workouts every day, 45-minute workouts. You got to drink a gallon of water, no alcohol, strict diet with no cheat meals, and read 10 pages of like an entrepreneurial or self-development book. And all these things basically build you discipline, and then that creates fortitude and grit. And you basically, like, if you walk by a Reese's peanut butter cup and you want to eat one, you can't eat it. So it's all these things that you're building this discipline and creating mental toughness. So I did the first 75 days, and there's 3 30-day phases that follow that called Live Hard, and that's what I just finished up in April.
Wow, made it.
Yeah. So
was it hard? Was it hard?
Well, that's why it's called 75 Hard. Yeah. It's not easy, but I mean, that's the point. That's why, like, everybody's like, oh, it seems like it's too hard. I mean, the point is that it's supposed to be hard. And get used to doing hard things. Like one of the requirements in the live hard phase is that you have to do 5 minutes of an ice cold shower every day. And, you're supposed to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's kind of like a David Goggins quote. I don't know if you guys follow him or
So,
not.
fellas, the sauna might be out during
God
75.
Yeah.
I mean,
75 hard.
You
No,
can do
damn,
it
John, don't
just
ever say
after you get out of the ice cold shower.
Oh, there you go.
you got to do it all. You get in the
Right.
There you go. So you mentioned a little bit in the beginning about the start into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And we have audience members out there that are entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs, have their dreams of starting a side thing. But was there a moment or like a time frame when you were like, okay, this is going from being a hobby to now needing to be an actual business? Was it instantaneous or was it gradual?
Well, I guess there's a couple ways to look at that. Basically, when I was in my mom's garage, I realized that it was going to be a business because people were calling me and they wanted work done and they were dropping work off. And, I was just a kid in high school trying to restore a car. And next thing you know, in my driveway, there's all these cars waiting to be painted.
Were you telling people that you were doing it or like on the side, or were you like, yeah, bring your car over?
I mean, it just kind of happened, I mean, and really like my business has been like that too. I mean, it's always been word of mouth. I mean, obviously having the television show was a big help and doing the car shows that we did all over. But just, I think when you take pride in something and you do a good job and you're honest to people, it just more clients are going to come to you. That's just the way that it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely challenging to get the level of clientele that we need now. I mean, we're doing, multi-million-dollar vehicles. So it's hard to get that clientele because it's very select. It's not every single person driving around, your regular vehicles. So it's hard to get those clients because it's a much smaller market. But, yeah, I mean, I think it just started when I was in my garage in high school. People started bringing cars in, and next thing you know, it was like, all right, we need to take this a little bit more serious. But yeah, I think that you're never really, I think that truly successful people, and I think there's different levels of it, but they're never really satisfied with where they are. So like, yeah, I've accomplished a lot and I've done some stuff that, some people won't do their whole life, which is, okay, everybody's got different lives that they want to live. But like what I want, some of the stuff I've done is great, but I've got like all these other levels that I want to go to. It's even like if you have a lot of people have been watching the Michael Jordan stuff right now, if you followed him, you'd know that after he won some of his championships, he went back and trained by himself in the middle of the night. I mean, that was because he wanted to win the next one, so I think that there's always that, or like you hear like Matthew McConaughey say he's always chasing the next version of himself. So I think that as we grow as, entrepreneurs or people, in whatever line of our life, we always know that there's something that we can do that's better and we can become that next version of ourselves. So
what's the most important lesson that you learned like during that? So, right. So you started the actual business. You said you got your business license and you moved in and you started doing it. What's the most important lesson that you've learned over the course of, and still growing your businesses, whether it's the show or the,
right. So the most important lesson, that's a tough question because there's been a lot of important lessons, but I would say, I really say I kind of narrowing it down to two in my head right now. I mean, I would say the one that sticks out the most is that you can't usually right when you feel like everything is falling apart, when you're ready to give up, that's when things always happen and go to the next level. I remember when we got the American Restoration deal with History Channel, I had been trying to get that show for like 6 years. We went to Las Vegas and we met with them, and I went out there twice actually. Then we called them, we made contracts, and then we didn't hear from the network for like 2 years. Then they called me again, and at that point, business was tough because it was hard to get the clients we needed. Still, we were still struggling with that, and I had always been very adamant that our work had to be perfect no matter what it cost. So if we had a job that needed to be done in X amount of time in order to make a profit. And I had other stuff that I wanted to be done on the job. I would do it and, come out of it in the negative on a job just because I cared that much about the work. So it was always hard, from a business standpoint, because the work is so difficult and getting the staff is so difficult. The people that can do it, it takes very talented people and it takes clients to understand. So I was in a really low point, and at that point I was like, screw it, I'm giving up. I've had enough of this. And then like 10 minutes, I get the call from History Channel, and they're like, hey, we want you to do the show. And at that point I was like so discouraged. I'm like, screw it, I'm done. Call me later. And we actually didn't talk for a little while. And then they called me back and they're like, we really want you to do the show. So then we started talking about it more, and I'm glad that I didn't give up. So I would say probably the number one lesson is that, when you're just about to reach that summit, sometimes, it gets kind of cloudy, but if you keep.
And I put the link to that show in the comments here. So anybody who's watching, in the comments, I put the YouTube link to the American Restoration spot. So go check it out.
Yeah. And
so you mentioned that it's darkest before the dawn, right? A lot of times, and couldn't agree with that more. I've failed at a couple businesses and succeeded at a couple, or at least so far, and have covered that a lot. Do you have any stories? You just sort of shared one, but do you have any stories of like? And maybe that was it, a huge failure that turned into a huge success, or even small,
Yeah. I mean, I think they're all along the way, and every job that you do, you have these minor failures, and you have to keep going on. But that was definitely a big one. I mean, I guess another one would be when I was at my first real shop, we'll call it, in Marcy. This was from 2006 to 2011. It was, we did a ton of work out of there. I mean, it was like we would work for. There was a couple jobs that we didn't sleep for 3 days straight. I mean, like I was in the paint booth in a paint suit for 3 days without stopping. And I'd feel like a zombie at the end of those days, but we did so much work. I mean, we did some incredible stuff. So, at the end of being in that shop in Marcy, it was kind of like one of those times where it was like, I worked so hard, I painted like thousands of vehicles, and, the money just wasn't there. And I was sick and tired of being broke. And I was sick of working like, 120-hour weeks and not getting anything out of it. Even though I was getting things out, I was building, a network of people and skills and learning and so on and so forth. But in my mind, it was really discouraging because the bills kept adding up, and it was like, I just would like to be able to like use my debit card and not have to worry about it not going through, So like we closed the shop down, and I actually moved out. I put all my stuff in my brother's tractor trailer, and it was kind of discouraging because at that point, my brother is the one who I told I was going to become the best car painter in the world. And it was like, hey, let me call him up and borrow his tractor trailer so I can put all my tools in it because, my business isn't going to work. And so that was a really discouraging and depressing time. And then when I had all my stuff back at my mother's house at that point now, a really good friend of mine now, we became really good friends, and client who I didn't know at the time called me up, and he was like, hey, listen, I got this car and I need it restored. And I called like 30 people and I don't want any of them to do it. I want you to do it. I know you don't have a shop right now, but find yourself a shop and let's get freaking going. So,
man.
So he called me up, and I moved into like a little 2-bay shop, and it was a mess. We started from like, zero again. And in that shop, that little 2-bay shop, we did a ton of work for the next couple of years. Like I cranked out a bunch of projects. It was awesome. And then at the same time started restoring this building that we're in now, and moved in here in 2012, end of 2012. So there was like that year-ish, 2-year period where it was just like, screw it, but then we moved into this shop, and then we got the TV deal, and we had an open house party with like 500 people, and PPG brought their tractor trailer in, and we had a live band come, and it was like, all right, everything's going to work out. But, and then since then we've done some more incredible jobs and had our work featured all over the world. And it's, but it's always a fight, and you always have to stay in that. But I would say that's probably one of those stories like that.
Yeah. So are you taking project? You just, I guess, mentioned it, but are you taking projects from all over the world or all over the country?
Oh yeah. I mean, we always have done that. I mean, right now we've got a 58 Studebaker truck in here that's from Alaska. Super great guy, really good friend of mine, good client. He shipped it on a boat from Anchorage to Washington State and then a truck from there to here.
That's awesome.
We did another international pickup truck for a client in San Diego. That's over there now, another really good guy. One of the most interesting stories, I sold a Mustang, a 65 Mustang to a client from Israel. And he actually flew over here from Israel, came to the shop. This was in our old shop in Marcy. And I have to find the letter. I'll show it to you guys. I'll send it to you. It was like one of the nicest letters I ever received from a client, just saying that, it was awesome to do business, with, someone from the other side of the world, and realizing that, this passion for cars was able to bring us together and,
Wow, that's awesome.
cultural differences and all that sort of stuff. So it was a really nice letter, but yeah, so it's interesting. We meet some great people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny how things like that are sort of like universal language, right? Like hobbies and passions are
Yep.
can be universal.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, we're living through some weird times right now, obviously. Do you have any advice for businesses out there? And you don't have to say necessarily in this pandemic, but getting through tough times. You mentioned 75 hard, mental training, right? What can a business owner, what can an entrepreneur that is up against the wall, whether it's in our current situation now or financial or whatever it might be, what, tips or advice can you give to them to help them get through it?
Well, that's a tough question. And yeah, we are in a really tough spot right now. I think that one big thing is basically the owner of the company and the person running the company, that company is going to reflect the way that person is feeling. So, I would really suggest doing 75 hard to anyone. I mean, it's a free program. It literally costs you nothing. You just have to do it every day. And it changes your life. And I mean, if you look up the comments, every single person who's done it says, I've made so much more money. My life is going so much more. I mean, it really changes. So I think changing yourself and strengthening your mind and strengthening your body and everything else around you will reflect in your business. It's really tough. I mean, some people are, forced to stay shut right now. And I mean, it's hard to give someone that advice for what do you do if you can't open your doors. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I hope my hopes for this whole coronavirus situation is that we can all come out of it together more so than divided like we have been for so long, and people will appreciate each other so much, like in the sense of when we hang out with our friends and family, everybody's looking at their phones all the time. Now maybe we'll appreciate being with each other. Or you hear people saying, "Oh, I got to go to my job today. I hate this. It sucks." Maybe people say, "I get to go to work today. I get to do this," and they'll appreciate what they have. So I think appreciating what you have, and it's like the old cliche saying of being grateful and practicing gratitude, then more things will come from that. But it is true. I mean, there's always something to be thankful for in the moment. I think that's going to build on to better things. But I think also, not getting stuck in the trend of what you've done in the past, being able to pivot a little bit and see, okay, this is where we're at. What can my business offer the world that will help them? I think that a big problem people always have is that they're trying to help themselves. They say, okay, I want to start a business because I want to be a millionaire, or I want to start a business because I want to make a lot of money and have freedom. You don't hear them talking about, I want to start a business because I want to help people with this, or I want my product to better people's lives, or I want my service to make my customer happy. That's the important thing. And I think if people think of it as what can they do to help other people, it's going to come back to you. I mean, it's just like my business. I was always making sure that my customers were happy and they had fun doing the projects, and that when it was done, they got a quality project. I mean, that's why, thousands of jobs later, I'm friends with literally every customer we've ever had. And because it's more so, you're not just selling someone a product. And I think right now that's really important. You don't just sell someone something and send them out the door. Let them know you appreciate them, and they'll stick around for the long haul. I think that's probably the most important thing there.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on some things I think are really important for people to be aware of. Is the pivot is a huge opportunity right now for so many businesses. They might be in a tough spot, and nobody can give them advice because there's nowhere to go. It's not like you can say, "Oh, go do this thing," and and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go for a lot of them now. But a pivot might be an opportunity when things do get better. They might be making product A, now they can make product B. Actually, we've seen that. There's a company called Origin USA. They're out of Maine, American-made stuff. They basically shut down all their lines, and now they make face masks out of denim and jeans, and they're selling like hundreds of thousands of them.
Right.
And they're employing 70 or 80 people through this whole thing just by doing that. I mean, that's a very quick pivot, that they took to be able to stay in business during this time.
Yeah.
So, cool. So one more question before we get into the rapid fire questions. Those come from our audience here on Facebook Live, and we'll all gather together, all four of us, to hit up these rapid fire questions. But one more question. This one actually this came in from somebody before the show, and is a question you probably get all the time. But what was the show like? Everyone wants to know what television, primetime TV is like. But what are the best and worst parts of participating in a network TV show?
This is from @Maddie Ann.
Oh yeah, sorry, Maddie. Question for Maddie.
I mean, worst parts. We'll start there. I don't really think that you can consider any of it the worst part. I guess the amount of work would probably be the worst part, but I like that stuff. I like challenges. So like we had our last week of filming, we called it Hell Week because we literally didn't sleep for 4 days, 4.5 days. And we finished like 4 episodes that week. It was absolutely insane.
So just cramming in footage?
Yeah, just absolutely cramming in footage. I mean, so doing that gets into the best parts. I mean, I got to learn so much of how television actually works and then work with some extremely awesome people. I mean, the directors, the sound guys, the producers. I mean, we met so many people, and then I was also able to bring my crew together even more. And like the stuff that we accomplished. I mean, we did somewhere around. We figured like 2.5 to 3 years worth of work in 8 months. So it was insane. But being able to lead a crew to do that and have everything filmed and have that crew working with you and in harmony basically is a really awesome feeling. But more so than that, probably the best feeling of the whole thing was just making people happy. I mean, we got emails from people all over the world. We had fans come to the shop from Mexico. I mean, they drove all the way here just to take pictures with us. I mean, we would get to the shop. There'd be somebody in the driveway sleeping in their car. We had a guy come from Chicago and sleep in the driveway just to take pictures with us, And we had another man come with his son who was he was disabled, the son, and super nice kid, but he lived for our show, and we were like heroes to this kid. When he met us, I mean, he was in tears. It was like he just met heroes from movies, and they came in the shop and we took them for rides in the car and sign autographs. But that feeling of being able to do that for people and make other people happy like that is a great feeling.
It's got to be exhilarating for sure. Totally awesome.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, and Steve, if you got some tea, I saw a tea bag hanging out of your thing. Yeah. Now is the time. We'll do a quick cheers with everybody out there.
Cheers.
We're going to take a sip, and then we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. So everyone who has a question for Steve, Al, Rob, myself, all 4 of us, pop them in the comments. We'll spend 10, 15 minutes rattling these things off before we say goodbye.
Awesome. The better.
All right, you guys ready?
Ready.
All right, Steve, you're going to be up first. Here we go.
Okay.
question comes in from Lindsay. How have you let living in a small town lead you to feeling distanced or cut off from people or certain customers? Just curious to know how you've pursued more opportunities, and what advice would you have for others in making connections that have small businesses in smaller rural towns?
Well, I would say that being from a small town is one of my strengths more so than a weakness. I've got connections all over the world, and it's awesome. But the people in my hometown, I mean, I'm so thankful and grateful to have the support that I have. And like I said before, there's no such thing as a self-made person, and the connections I have in a small town, I am very, very thankful and grateful for them. And I've always tried, like when we had the TV show, I tried to get as many local businesses on as I could to try to promote what they were doing. And I think that's really important, to never forget where you come from. And, it's kind of sad when you see some people that are, they get to a level of fame or success, and they kind of forget that. And that's something I've always made very adamant I never would do. Because it's very important to always remember who brought you to the dance, per se.
Sure is.
Love it.
Al?
Boy.
Have we all lived? We've all grown up in small towns, right? Al,
Yeah.
where'd you grow up?
Here.
Oh.
Syracuse.
That's a small town.
I don't know. I think, I'm sometimes I'm torn on this. Like sometimes I think it's good to be a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
And then other times I think that it spoils you a little bit, right? You get to a level of success in your area, and then you get super comfortable. At least for me, like I get real comfortable. And then the thought of having to be uncomfortable, what you were talking about, and let's say I move to LA for whatever reason, I'm gonna get smoked, right? Like I'm gonna get smoked out there. I'm gonna be,
which, by the way, happens to people quite a bit. Like I have friends that move back from New York City or Philadelphia or LA who are like, nope, not for me.
So it's tough because like I'll be vulnerable here. Like I'm a little bit of a coward sometimes. Like I'm, as much as I'd like to go and venture and pick up, move my life, I'm pretty comfortable in my small town.
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I think you just have to take stock in who you are, like your personality, right? Like if you're a super social person, then and you have big aspirations for something that a big city would offer better than a rural one, then you should move to the city. And you should do it. But if you're looking for advice, like how do you sort of make it and make connections in a rural town in order to grow something outside of that town, like it's just going to be an uphill battle for the most part, right? Like Steve, you've done it, but you've done it in an industry that people are willing to spend the money to get the best work done. In my industry in marketing, like good thing we're in digital marketing because the locality doesn't matter. But another industry, you might not like, a restaurant you can open in a small town. You can, you're much more likely to get swallowed in a New York City than Chris Biley we had on Tuesday. He's finding a crazy amount of success here locally because he's got really unique restaurants here. But in New York City, there's a lot of them. So,
I think a lot of that also has to do with who you are and the kind of work that you're producing. I mean, it's just like people say, oh, well, money changes people, for example, but really it just highlights who you are. I think, if you're a bad person before, people just might not notice as much. When you have more power or influence, people notice that more. So I think if you're a good person, you're doing good work, the more successful you get as you build it, that'll just grow and people see that. So if you move to a big city, it might suck at first. It might be hard, but as people start realizing who you are and what you do, that word of mouth will grow, and you'll just, become the bigger fish in that bigger pond. I think, it's like when you see a goldfish in a tank, they get so big, but once you put them into something else, then they do get bigger. So, people adapt to their sizes, but you can be a big fish in a small town still. I mean, there's a lot of, super famous people that don't all live in Hollywood and in gigantic mansions. Some of them got cool houses in small towns too. So
little tiny houses, Al?
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole. Watch
Rabbit
last
hole.
episode.
I like small things. I like little tiny things. It's weird.
So for me, I grew up in the country, 2-acre parcel of land. We literally lived on that same parcel of land next door to my grandparents, which was a huge blessing growing up. My grandfather was a farmer, then became a postmaster, and then after he retired, the farmer and him came back out. We had giant gardens and stuff on the property, and graduating class was 74 people. Then turned and left and went to a very small SUNY school. And then when I got into business for myself, I'm like, all right, if we can't find the resources that we need locally, you need to go and research where you can get those resources. Mm-hmm. So for me at the time, it was turning to a national trade magazine within my industry. And from that, I would put myself out and I would travel to national events, meet those people that we had met online through the magazine, build relationships. You go and you visit people that are doing what you want to be doing, but doing it better and bigger, and you learn from them, and you bring that back. And then at some point in your career, I think you take and you shift that from just doing good within your industry to doing good as a business owner. And from there, the small town situation keeps us humble, and you just be able to, there's great value in being able to carry on a conversation with people, regardless of what their position is in the public or in business or anything like that. And soon you become a great connector of people. And through that, the learning process just continues and rolls on. So
Cool.
Next question, short one here. Al, I'm going to start with you. Favorite superhero?
Batman, no question about it. Next, Johnny.
John?
Favorite superhero? Oh man,
how do you not have that right on hand in your mind?
They're all tied. I have like 10 that are tied, but Punisher. Is he a hero? Yeah.
He's a hero. Yeah.
Super person.
Yeah.
Who's not actually super, but Punisher.
It's Punisher.
I'm going to go with Iron Man.
Nice. Solid.
It's a tough
Steve?
one. We're talking fake people, superheroes, cartoons, or we're talking real?
No limits, whatever you want.
Nope, no rules.
I got a few. I would say I like Jesus.
Oh, yeah, bro.
The superest.
Wolverine, pretty badass, too. My older brother and myself.
Fair. Noted. Duly noted.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Roger. John, what's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
I went on a cruise one time, and they had a survival. What's it called? Survival? No. What's that show called on an island? Survivor. Yeah, they had like a Survivor competition, and the last thing was I had to eat a plate. It was full of raw calamari, chocolate ice cream, cold noodles, a fish head, and some other stuff in there, all mixed in. So that was the weirdest combination of foods I've ever eaten.
I can't top that. Weirdest thing for me was probably like a chocolate covered cricket.
Oh,
nothing too crazy.
High in protein.
Steve?
The weirdest thing I've ever eaten. That's a tough one. I eat a lot of weird stuff. Well, recently for the last 65 days, I've been vegan. So that's been weird for me. That's part of this program I'm doing, and we're going to document it all. But that's actually been pretty good and super interesting. But I don't think that's really the weirdest. I mean, I'd eat like gigantic steaks, like I had like my picture taken on like one of those, they put you on a saddle and put you on the wall for eating a giant steak. So I ate that with like 2 sides, a cheesecake, and like a ton of other stuff one night. That was it wasn't weird, but it was like 10 meals in one.
I mean, 10 meals in one is weird for most people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe
Most
that's your
people
next
can't
thing.
reach
Maybe
that.
that's your next in
Right.
competitive eating. Maybe that's your next
Oh, there you go.
conquer, right?
Of eating. Yeah.
Mine was chicken gizzards. To this day, I still don't know what they are. But my aunt used to make chicken gizzards, and my dad loved them. So I was like, wanted to be like him. So I was like, yeah, I'll try them. Chicken gizzards. Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. Bia asked, what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning? For me, besides human bodily functions, I'll probably try to spend some time with in my Bible, digital or paper version. Steve?
That's a tough one for me. I'm kind of working on a new program that I'm going to be doing. I think the first thing I'm going to do in the morning every day is play a half hour of music, whether it be piano or guitar, because that just completely changes my whole mindset and the way that I feel about the day. I feel like, okay, I can go on with this. That's I've been playing now for 3 years. That's one of my huge goals, is to be able to perform live music. But when I'm playing music, I feel good about myself. So I think that's going to become like the first thing I do every day going forward here for at least the next 30 days.
Al, I just want you to pull your sleeve up and pull a flute out of your. Steve, Al is a fantastic saxophone player.
Talking right to my heart.
Dude, I want to learn how to play the sax bad.
Dude, it's right after this show. We'll chit chat for a little bit. It's happening. You're going to play every morning, and I'm setting up a gig for 2 months from now, and you'll be playing live.
Do it on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
I'll watch.
6 months from now, setting up a bar gig. You and I, we're going to go do it.
Perfect. What are you thinking, like Carnegie Hall or something?
Wherever you want.
Madison Square Garden.
We're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. Let's get Madison Square Garden back open.
sold out.
I like it.
What's the next question? What did we answer? Did everybody
Did you answer, Al?
I don't know. Did I?
I don't even remember what the question was.
Jazzed up about the music. Who cares about my answer?
All right, let's go on.
Yep.
Steve, back to you. What was the last film you watched?
Last film I watched. I just started watching the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix, but I didn't watch the whole thing yet, so that wouldn't really count. You know what I watched? The last film I watched was Davy Crockett on Disney Plus.
Davy, I used to love him.
Dude, what a super
original badass
guy. Yeah, he was like the original badass of our country, and like with everything that's going on right now, just super interesting story. There's two different ones. He's got the one of the Battle of the River Pirates, and then Davy Crockett, just the story of the King of the Wild Frontier. But that was a good movie. I would definitely recommend watching both of those. Disney Plus.
Cool. Al?
Was it last movie? Sorry to clarify. Last movie you watched?
What was the last film you watched? Is the question.
Right. Okay.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. You know what? The last film I watched was Tommy Boy.
Oh,
just when I thought you couldn't top it, you just did.
Better and better.
Right before Tommy Boy.
Gosh, what a beautiful episode this was.
Al, you're staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Are you kidding me? I stay up till 4 in the morning every day.
What are you watching? What's the last one?
Last one I watched was Iron Man 3.
Right, cool. John?
Rob, you go, because I got to think.
The Irishman.
Oh, cool.
It was like 3 hours long, but it was so cool to see all the guys back together again.
Mm-hmm.
The gang.
Yeah. The gang. So I have a number one. My relax time is at night, and I watch a movie or a show every night, late, Al, up until 2 o'clock in the morning. And I do work on my laptop at the same time.
Cousin of death for me. I just can't stand it.
But the last, and I've been watching shows a lot, which is why I can't remember the movie. So I'm right now I'm watching The Sopranos again. So the last movie, Skip. I can't even remember. Skip.
All right. Next question. We're back to food again. One food that you could never give up.
Jesus. God. Cheez-Its. No.
Cheez-Its, thank God.
Sure, I'll go with it. Cheez-Its. That's good. Whatever.
That's Biley's answer. Cheez-Its.
Yeah,
Cheez-Its.
John?
Probably eggs. Popcorn.
No. Big
It
jump
used to
there,
be
John.
eggs. It used to be eggs, but popcorn is like my new like daily jam. I actually eat it while I'm watching The Sopranos and doing work at night.
Nice. I'm gonna say cheese.
It's
It's
Just plain, just cheese. No low sodium, no low fat. Cheese.
Now you're a
Just
cheese guy.
Cheese.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Steve's like,
Steve?
you guys are pigs. You're not mentally strong at all.
No. Suck. We
He's
suck,
gonna go
Steve.
super like direct like water.
Yeah.
So yeah, water was actually my answer because 75 hard. There was like 5, like my grandma's recipe of cookies, grandma cookies we call them, crazy vanilla ice cream, cheesecake, all that stuff. I could have never gave that up, but I had to for 75 hard. And the last, so like it was like day 73. My aunt comes over to my house, bakes 300 of those grandma cookies, and left them there. So the whole shop, the whole house, everything.
He's like, I gotta go.
For like the last 3 days of that 75 hours, the worst thing ever. But I know now that I could give up whatever, which is crazy because
Yeah.
a year ago I would have thought no way I would have been able to give up those cookies. But now probably just water because I think eventually you die if you don't drink water.
I like this question. I know, right?
Yeah.
I like this question from Carly Marie. This is a good one. What makes you get up every day to do it all over again?
Yep. That's where I was heading next. Good question. John, it's up to you first.
My family.
Yeah.
My wife. Now my newborn son. Every day.
Rob?
Yep, same. Got too many people. It's family. First of all, I don't want to live down my God-given potential. Secondly, I don't want to let my family down. And third, I've got business partners and friends that everybody's counting on us. So, Steve.
Yeah, I would say it's very similar. Along those lines. I feel like I've been very blessed to have the life that I have, and I think that I have a very big responsibility to fulfill that. I think that I have a lot of potential, and I need to develop that to the highest level possible. And in doing that, it's going to help all of the people around me that depend on me and that look up to me. And I think it's really important for me to do that for them. Because I got an incredible family and friends and people that support me, so I think it's my responsibility to get up every day to be the best version of myself for them. So yeah, I would say that.
Valid.
Amen.
And winning is a big one. Whatever it is, I like competing, so that's why I'm really looking forward to getting back into arm wrestling here. So that's a big motivator. But the first one is the main answer.
Nice. For me, it's just gratitude that I'm alive and healthy, and it's another day. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Last question. Super fast. I'm going to start with you, Al. What's your dream car?
A Mercedes. I love Mercedes. I can't help it. I don't care about I didn't grow up around like classic cars. I just love Mercedes. I had a few of them, and then I didn't, and I can't wait to get back to that.
And this is from Sarah Beth, by the way. John?
If I were to go classic cars, probably a tie between a 57 Chevy and a Chevelle. I'm not a big car guy either, but my dad had a 57 Chevy like back in the day, and I just remember him telling stories about it. And, so that just kind of nostalgia stuck with me. Chevelles are just badass. Yeah, one of those two.
Aston Martin.
Ooh, freaking
What? Like
James
a brand
Bond.
new one, Rob?
What's that, Steve?
Like a brand new one, or what do you think?
Yeah, that within the last few years, they really, with all the James Bond stuff, they've really put out some really sweet rides.
Yeah.
I've got one posted. We don't have time to get into it, but I'll pull it up and I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
And how about you, Steve? Your last answer, last question.
So my dream car is always the next car that I'm going to build. I've
keeps
got
you hungry, right?
That's right. So, but aside from that, I am planning on one of my big goals is to purchase back some of the key projects that we've done over the years, and I want to build a collection of those. So there's like 4 or 5 of like my ultimate dream cars in there that we've already done. And aside from the cars that I've built, I'd say probably like a brand new Ford GT. Those are freaking awesome. And, probably like, I'd like to get like an 86 Ferrari Testarossa just because that was the year I was born. It's not the best Ferrari, but it's pretty cool.
A little nostalgia, right? Like,
yeah, a little nostalgia, but some of the new supercars are awesome. I mean, any of those new Bugattis or, probably the Ford GT though, I would say, or an Eleanor Mustang too. It's tough. I think just picking ones. That's not
shit, straight Fast and the Furious.
Well, you gotta have a big garage, have more than one.
Yeah. I mean, shit. What yours? You got 13,000 square feet now.
Yeah,
although that's filled with work. So
filled with work, but some of it's going to be filled with a collection. That's going to be awesome. So.
Well, Steve, man, this has been a real pleasure. If anybody has any questions for you, because there's more questions popping through right now. But if anybody has any questions for you, number 1, where can they contact you? And number 2, what's next for Steve? What's next for Steve's Restorations? What do you got coming? So two-parter. Where can they contact you? What's next?
So you can contact me. Instagram is at Steve's Restorations, plural. You can get me on there. You can get me on Facebook, Steve Hale, or Steve's Restorations and Hot Rods. And, shop, email, all that. But that's the easiest social media. And what's coming up next, we've got some super exciting stuff coming up. So basically, we haven't officially announced it yet, but we'll give you a little bit of a preview.
Oh, is this like the first official global announcement?
Yeah, you could call it that. You could call it that.
Heard it here first. NoBull crew.
Yeah.
So so right after we finished American Restoration, I wrote a television show, and the idea was to sell it to one of the networks, Discovery, History, something like that. And then we kind of changed gears, and we decided we wanted to do it on YouTube because we wanted to be able to control all of our advertisements, help out local businesses, get exposure, and do the content the way that we wanted to do it. So that was our original plan. We wrote this show, and it was basically people were going to live vicariously through my life and all the cool stuff I did. Well, then fast forward to recently, I had went through a lot of crazy stuff in my life, and I felt like my story could help a lot of people. And it was a lot of ups and downs, like we talked about before. And we decided to change the whole concept of the show and make it about helping people become the best versions of themselves. So we're making a 3-part series that is going to be a docu-series, a how-to series, and a podcast that is going to be about becoming the best version of yourself. So people are going to follow me doing that, and the docu-series is going to tell my whole story of that and leading up to now and then the future, and following me accomplishing all these goals, or maybe falling on my face if I don't accomplish them. And then it's also going to have a how-to series that's going to teach people everything from learning how to play music, learning how to arm wrestle, how to train properly, how to eat properly. It's going to talk about diets. It's going to talk about writing books, because I'm also writing a book right now. It's going to talk about how to restore cars, how to paint. There's going to be a ton of really good information for airbrushing and custom cars and restoring cars and being in the shop, in the how-to series. And then on the podcast, we're going to interview super successful people with interesting stories, whether it be musicians or business people or celebrities, athletes, anyone who has gone through some hard stuff and overcame it to, accomplish their goals. And basically, once people listen to this and watch an episode, they'll have tools that they can put in their own toolbox, basically, to do the same for their life, whatever their goals may be. So the whole series is going to be called A Wild Ride. And
I love it.
We're going to be announcing it within the next couple of weeks. We're super excited about it. We've been working on it for like 4 or 5 years. And we're thinking it's going to, reach the entire world, and we're looking forward to it in a big way.
That's badass, man.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you so much. Cheers to you. Cheers to your success, and cheers to your future success.
Appreciate you, man.
Guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Take care.
And there you have it.
Unbelievable. And he didn't even tell us all of what he's doing right now. Like,
all
his backstory is so impressive.
Oh, it's crazy. So there's. I hope he can get to some of the other questions in there because there were some really good questions and stuff. Like, how'd you get in arm wrestling? Which one of us would you want to take on?
I would not want to take Steve on. I've seen him in action.
I would want to take him on only to do this, only to go.
And then
I would lose.
and then you're out.
And then run like hell.
You're like, all right.
Are you crazy? I just want to do the hat move. I'm out.
I think John would be the one to give him the most run for his money.
Absolutely.
I'd be the one to get my arm broken. Is that what you're saying? Basically,
I want to be the one in a cast.
I would be the one out of the three of us to get my arm broken. But yeah, listen, if you have a question for Steve, hit him up on Instagram. Like he said, shoot him a question, shoot him a DM. Great guy. We'd be happy to answer and doing some killer things. So that's the show, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching. Again, we'll be back shortly. But as always, we're super appreciative. Appreciative? Did I say that right? That didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Appreciative.
We're appreciative.
Appreciative.
Sentiments.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Nice sentiments, exactly.
Whatever.
It does. It means a lot to us. We're new in our growth trajectory here with NoBull. We're making lots of pivots, and one of them is to now start to put out great content where we're helping other people, find their spot in life. So thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook, and we're pumping out content on our Instagram, our Facebook, and soon to be Twitter.
Soon.
As the team told me today. So we're going to be Twittering all over the place, guys. Gosh.
And I got to tell you, without even asking, there are saxophone emojis coming in as we speak.
No, bullshit.
It's right there.
You can't call it. It's
Rebecca
right there.
Williams, come on.
We did not plant those. See?
What are you doing? We didn't even say
Listen,
to it.
All right, look,
That's what I'm
everybody.
saying.
Al has promised us Sunday nights. He's promised Sunday nights are going to be sax night. Sunday sax night.
Sexy Sax Sundays.
We might have to change the name of the show from Wildcard Sundays to Saxy Sundays.
Good sax on Sunday.
Good sax on Sunday.
Rebecca, that was for you.
All right,
awesome.
Impromptu meeting after this show about good sax Sundays.
There you go.
All right, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. We will be back Sunday. Hope you have a great weekend. Sunday night, we'll have our Wildcard episode, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook or on YouTube. Cheers, everyone. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Love you all.